All right, today's episode on Lelanders ley lines, we'll be discussing how to load and look at ley line maps on your computer. Alright, welcome back everyone. Sorry for the green screen errors. What we'll do this episode is discuss some questions from the viewers in the chat in our last Lelanders ley lines episode on New Zealand. So let's maybe start with that first. Okay, here we had a comment from Polytronic Digital. So I really appreciate this comment. I know a lot of people are wondering. He's asking, what the heck is up with your green screen? How can I trust anything you say when you can't even get this right? So just to let everyone know, I recently moved into my girlfriend's apartment, recently as in December, but it's still relatively recently. And it's 500 miles or 666 kilometers away from my mom's basement, which was where I was staying for quite a long time. It was always my goal to make it out of there before I turned 50, and thank God with my girlfriend's help, we did it just in time. Anyways, I don't have my supercomputer or my studio that was in my mom's basement, so I'm just using an older computer, limited software, and recording in our living room. So I don't have a green screen behind me. This is actually all with just some rudimentary software that's using an algorithm to delete everything behind me. I would switch to my other camera and show you that I'm just in my living room, but my computer right now can't even handle two cameras hooked up very well. So yeah, but I think the viewer is right that you should never trust anything I say in these videos. I'm never a professional, or not a professional. Sometimes I am at work, I guess, but I will hope. But anyways, yeah, so never trust what I say. Make sure to always look it up, and especially because I get things wrong all the time. So I appreciate it when viewers are checking and not trusting, making sure that I'm on track and pointing out anything that I get wrong. I appreciate it. I try to take constructive criticism well. So anyways, thanks Polytronic for not only viewing the video, but leaving a comment and some constructive criticism. Really appreciate that. I was going to give it a love, but I almost did to my own. Alright, so here's the question or comment from the viewer that sparked this episode. So Sarah O'Sullivan has said, "Hi again. I've managed to get someone else's ley line map onto Google Maps in the meantime, but for various reasons, I don't believe it's as accurate as yours." Now, I really appreciate that, and I know there's a bit of a pissing contest in the ley line community. Not really so bad as I thought it was at first. Most people are pretty civil about different maps and kind of agreeing that no one really has the ultimate ley line map. We're all still trying to refine different versions, so I really appreciate the comments, but it's a little bit too much. I'm sure there's a lot of ley line maps better than mine, but that's nice to hear. Ley lines over New Zealand are not in the same place as yours, and yours matches some very significant spiritual places to the Maori. Theirs misses these. Wow, that's pretty intense. So they shared on file on their website. I thought it'd be a little forward and ask whether you'd be willing to please share your file somehow. I'm happy to try and recreate if I know how, but just thought that it might be easier to do a video on how to do it. I'm already thinking you built the file in another software and then brought it into Google Earth. Thanks so much, and sorry for keeping on about this, and keep it up and running on my Google Earth. So thank you so much, Sarah O'Sullivan. I actually had my ley line map file posted on my website years and years ago. I don't know how many years ago. Probably one or two. But anyways, I ended up taking it down because I was always updating it, and I was thinking, geez, here I have it posted on my website, and it's not even the latest version. But then what I was thinking of doing is do the same thing that software does, where they always put like, here's the latest version, and then there's a list of all the previous versions. And I really wish that when I was creating mine that I would have saved all the older versions. Because sadly, when I made mine, I started off by going on other people's research about ley lines and different ancient site alignments, built a rudimentary gravity well map from that, and then I started to realize that a lot of the measurements for that were just slightly off the actual real measurements on the Earth today. So then I ended up updating the map and saving it, which I really should have just kept the old site one and then made a whole new version and saved it as a new one. But anyway, so no, for the answer one of the first questions or last questions is I did actually build mine on Google Earth, and today's episode will show where to get the file, where to get Google Earth, and how to upload everything into it and get it working, and what you can see with it. Alright, so yeah, there were some more questions, comments, very interesting stuff. We're a country. Yes, thanks, Rose. Appreciate that. My geography knowledge is expanding slowly but surely. No, it's like I've been looking at maps pretty intensely for years, but I still got a long way to go with the actual details of the maps. All right, so what do we have? Let's bring up Google Earth. Now, where to get Google Earth? I guess I should cover that. I haven't downloaded Google Earth Pro in so long, I don't even know where to get it either. Alright, so what I'm doing is typing in Google Earth Pro download into Google and see what it shows. Alright, so this is weird. Let's bring up the results. And we'll make them bigger so everyone at home on cell phones can see it. Or people like me who need glasses. No, just kidding. Google Earth Pro. Looks like there's one from NSoftonic, but I'm not sure I trust that one. That seems a little fishy. I would go to Google's link at Google Earth Versions, see if that's where we can get it. Oh, so you get it on Google Play or there? That sounds cool. Or you can download Earth Pro on desktop. So if you click that, you can accept and download. If anyone has any trouble from there, just let me know in the chat. Since I already have it downloaded and installed, I don't want to click that in case I screw anything up. Okay, so once you have that and you've got it working on your computer, you'll open it and you'll get something like this. Let's turn the ley line map off just to give people an idea of what the regular version of Google Earth Pro looks like. So when you get Google Earth Pro, you'll have something like that, and this list of my places on the side, it will actually be a lot smaller. You won't have all the things that are added in by me. So I'll show you how to add those in. And oh yeah, we'll show what the view usually looks like. There's a thing here called the grid. And if you turn that grid on, it shows you the tropic lines, the equator, the Capricorn line, the Arctic circles, and all those jazz. So there's quite a bit of lines that come with the, what is it called, the grid. So that's what they call the grid. And one of the main lines that I love on the grid is the prime meridian and the equator. So those are basically the dividing lines that allow you to split the Earth into equal parts. So basically what I did when I was making my map, just to give everyone a little history of it, I watched a video. I've got, I was going to say it's on my DVD shelf, and I forget that that's at my other house. So I have a video that's called, gosh, forget what it's called, but if you type into YouTube, it's basically these alignments around the planet at ancient sites will blow your mind. So if you type that in, you'll get a video, and it shows an alignment that connects, what is it? We'll start it here. Easter Island, Chile. So we'll go there. Yeah, I knew I was pretty close. So it goes from there, and then it goes to, what is it, the pyramid, Great Pyramid of Egypt. It's neat how it takes you right there. And then from there it goes to say Anchor Watt. Oh, there it is. I always have trouble spelling that one. Let's zoom out a bit just so it makes it a bit cooler. So anyways, you connect all these spots of like major temples or ancient sites, and it eventually makes a line around the planet. We'll see if I have it here in the list. I have one that's called Ancient Sites. The Mega Line. Yeah, that's the one. So some researchers were saying that all these are just arbitrary points, and even as far as straight lines go, it's not really that exactly straight. There's definitely a few bends to it as it makes its way around. And if anyone's wondering what's examples of true straight lines, you have things like the equator. You can see that it's actually a full circle around the whole globe. So in order to make my ley line map, there isn't any dowsing involved. There isn't any ancient site alignments involved. But you can see that I started to notice that it was crisscrossing at certain points. And what I did is I just made every point, like say the equator point, it's a straight line. When it came to the Tropic of Cancer line, instead of making it a smaller line that goes around like a smaller section of the globe, I also made it a true great circle. So it's just as big as the equator, except it starts here and does a full circle around the globe. And then I did the same thing for the Arctic Circle line, made it a great circle point instead of a smaller circle around the globe, and I just drew them off of the prime meridian. Now some people don't like that idea because the prime meridian is just somewhat of an arbitrary location picked to divide the planet. And then other people will say no, that when the prime meridian was actually picked as a location, it was due to the actual wobbling point of the planet, or what is it called, like the pivot point, so that it really does divide the planet where it's like hypothetically should be divided in 4 equal parts, taking into account the equator and the way the land is shaped. So anyways, once you put the debate aside for why the anti-meridian or prime meridian is a good spot to measure each orb point from, then that's where you get to my map. So now, yeah, I can just take off the view or the grid, and we'll take off the old style map lines, the ones that I first started drawing it from. Can see how it sort of makes out that pattern. So we'll remove those and we'll put up the true, what I like to call the true ley line map. True is, let's see, Lelanders, Lelanders lines, there it is. First yellow, 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 there it is. See, now this map is the baseline one, where I just basically took all the equator point lines and drew them onto the map and colored them yellow. So this is like the farthest divination, or the least amount of cubes that I could make for a ley line map. And this one is kind of neat because people point out that it matches geographic locations and outlines them pretty precisely. Like you get these are basically, I call them gravity well orbs because they push land away and make it orbit around them, just like black holes react, but on a much smaller scale, right? You can see the Bay of Fundy, it's blown out like that, off the tips of Africa. It outlines Southeast Asia. It outlines Australia. It's even part of the boot of New Zealand. Shout out to all the New Zealand viewers. It's basically how we got here today. And if anyone hears large transport trucks going by, it's because I live on the Trans-Canada Highway in our apartment. I have the windows closed. This is about as quiet as we'll get. Unless I get some software to take it out. So there you have the Ring of Fire and different locations that it outlines. So people are wondering, like, if you wanted to draw this map from scratch. I know a lot of viewers don't want to take the time to do that. It took me years to do it during, like, a grueling concussion rehab. I decided to do that as a project. Go figure, but... Anyways, so yeah, if you wanted to draw your own, just take the ruler as a measuring point. Or not the ruler, the grid. Now you got the tropic lines, you got the equator, you got the Tropic of Capricorn and Cancer, you got the Arctic Circle, and the only one that isn't marked, where to just put it on the map, you have to measure halfway between. So the halfway between the tropic line and the Antarctic line is that line. And then from there, once you have all the orb points marked, then you can just start drawing great circles. What's a great circle? It's the same as the equator line. It just has to go completely around the whole globe without getting smaller than the equator in length. And yeah, just keep going around the whole globe until you come back to where you started, making a full circle or a great circle. And this is how all the old maps in ancient times were drawn, like the Portolan charts. I'm just guessing. I'm not really a cartographer, but that's my estimate, because a lot of them do use this orb formulas. And lo and behold, a lot of these lines actually do end up on the continent's best ports. So calling it a Portolan chart seems to make some sort of sense. I know people debate that a lot too, but... So, and if you want to make the lines on this map even more... like more and more ley lines, how many can you make? Let's show people what you can make. We'll take away the view of the grid. Now, just like Perry Reese map or other Portolan charts, the only thing I did to add more lines was just divide the existing ones in half. So take blue lines and put it between the halfway point and all the yellow lines. And that's what you end up with when you add the blue. Then you start outlining the rest of the continents that the yellow lines had missed before, like in South America. And you can see some of the gravity well points, rivers like the major Congos or all the other rivers in the world will wrap around it just like a gravity well or a black hole. Now... what was it? Yeah, this blue line is special to the people in New Zealand. They really like this beach here, special to the Maori people. So there's one of the special blue lines that came up in the show. So that's why, in a way, I don't really like to take credit for creating these ley line maps as much, is because it's really just basic measurements from the globe itself. Taking the already existing points. I didn't have to dowse anything. I didn't really have to use ancient sites, although that is how I did it or started it. And people have noticed too that some of my lines aren't lining up perfectly. Like, why isn't this blue line going through this point on those? I've done versions where I do get it to go through, but in order to do it, you have to bend the line a bit. So the version that I have right now is just it perfectly straight, because I wanted to see how close I could get it by making it perfectly straight without having to bend the line to make it fit. Now, why is it that it has to be bent for it to fit? I think it's probably because I made a mistake somewhere drawing the map. Or it could be because of the way Portolan charts in general work. I could show the viewers... Don't worry, we're going to get close to where to download all this on your own. Now I'll show people what I have here. It's try not to show any pictures of naked babes by accident. Alright, there we go. So I've got a folder on my computer that's called Gravity Wells. And then I have different files in it of different parts of the research I've covered. I have a best of folder. The summary folder, that's a good one. So this summary folder, it demonstrates what I'm talking about, why some of the lines aren't matching 100% without bending them to fit. I think it's because of this. See if where it opens. If you look at the Perry-Reese maps, a lot of them aren't really meant to bend and fit, but it's supposed to make this weird like kaleidoscope type line pattern. So I think in a way my predetermined goals of trying to make everything fit in a certain pattern is miss the boat when it comes to getting these to line up like this. But you can see here, even on the original best cartographers maps, they couldn't get it to line up perfectly straight either. That one should be moved over a couple millimeters, right, in order for it to line up perfectly. So I can see even the ancient cartographers, without Google Earth, drawing it all by hand, they even had some of the same problems. So if anyone wants to redraw the map and like just do it so that you take the measurements I showed with the rulers or the grid and then redraw it all and see if you can get it to line up here or if it is slightly below. If anyone redraws it and gets that result, please let us know in the chat and let us know how it went. And you can just imagine how long it takes to redraw this all by hand. So luckily I will share in this episode the link so that people can just download it and not have to redraw it all. But I figured I would just cover the redrawing part briefly. Alright, so say hypothetically you have no ley line map and you got the grid. How do you start drawing this thing by hand? So we'll just show people briefly how to do that. So what you would do is you would take the equator line and the prime meridian and then divide a line in half. How to do that? You have to go up to these little icons. Sorry, I can't make this part bigger. So that one's a place mark. We don't need that. That's a polygon. We don't need that. New path. I think that's the one we're going to use. It's been a while since I've drawn it, so we'll come back to that if that's not it. Overlay image, tour. Oh, the ruler. Yeah, I like the ruler too. So anyways, we'll start by picking add a path. I think that's the one. Now I really should remember because I've drawn so many millions of these, but it's actually been a year or so since I've made too many changes to the map. So you click where you want the line to start with this targeting, and then you click where you want it to go, and now you can zoom out, and now you have to use these icons to move it. You can't really drag and drop right now because you have the dot already selected. And then you can zoom out and make more lines and keep. I usually use the D-pad. So then you click the mouse again, it'll make another line, and then you can grab it and drag it and try to make it straight. So one way to make it straight is to use the already existing lines on the map as like measuring points. So what you could do is like say, hey, drag it over here, and you could say, oh, it looks too far on that side. Or drag it over here, be like, oh, it's too far on that side. Try to get it so it's exactly halfway between. And then you can look at these white lines from the ruler, and it shows you where the halfway point is, right? The halfway point is basically right where that triangle is. So what you could do is just take it right down to there and put it there and be like, okay, there's my baseline that I can start measuring from. And then drag the other points. How far can we make this before it starts bending way off, right? Then you just draw more, keep it as straight as you can. And then eventually you can join it to there. And then zoom out, see like how far did you screw up in getting it to be a perfectly straight line. Bend it to wherever you need to make it fit. Try to use the ruler as much as you can to automatically measure it without having to just eye it out. Like what I could say here is this one should be here, right? Because there's the other measuring point. And if you click it and you made a mistake, like you added one you didn't want to, just click the other mouse button and it takes it away. Sort of like the undo feature. You could add more dots to the line, take some away, whatever you want to do. And then once you've done all that and you say you've got your line as straight as you want, I know that one's horrible. You pick, you can name the line. You can be like, oh, this is my first prime meridian line 1. And then you can pick the style and the color, how wide you want it to be. So I'll make this one a pink line for the Barbie movie. Me and my girlfriend went to see it. It was really good. I like the 2001 Space Odyssey intro. I usually like to make the lines anywhere between 4 and 2 wide. You can pick the altitude, how high up the line you want it to be off the ground. And then you click OK. So now you have a line. And if you look down where this line is, where is it on our grid here? Yeah, so that's the one we just created. Then you can make subfolders and then start sorting where each line you want it to go. When I colored it by different colors, then I just made folders, one for each color. All the red lines, all the blue lines. So we'll delete the one we just created. But that's an idea. And then once you get all the lines and you want to save them, you can export the file. So you go to like say, hey, all the blue lines that I created, you go save place as. Now I'm saving the file as a KMZ file. And then this is a file you can import and export out of Google Earth. And then you'll have all the lines that you've made on anyone's version of Google. So as people can see, I have a full list of different KMZ files, and I'll share which ones that I like best, and I'll share now how to get the actual Lelanders ley lines file. Now one day, to be honest, I did have dreams of like making a paywall and trying to force people to pay money to access the ley line maps on my website, or to like have to buy a book to get like a code how to get it. But as I aged and stuff, I was like, I'd much rather just get the research out there rather than trying to profit from it, even though given my financial situation, I should be going the other route. But I really don't think ley lines are even that popular enough. It would make much of a difference in my life to try to monetize it anyways. So I figure, hey, let's just give everything away for free. And if people want to help donate to the cause, they can. But just to know that anyone at any price level in their life or financial situation, well, at least if you can get Google Earth going on a computer or a cell phone, might work on cell phones. Alright, let's refresh this because I don't even know what's going on. So what you'll have to do is go to judsonweebly.com. We'll try to make that bigger so everyone can see it. Hopefully that's somewhat bigger. I don't think it changed that, just the website, eh? Yeah, the icon stayed the same. Did those get bigger? Yeah, those do. Alright, so what you'll have to do is go to my website, judsonweebly.com. It should be listed in the description in the video, somewhere below. And once you're here, you got a home, menu, about, press, invention, videos, Anubis amulets, and more. So if you go to, if you want the ley line map, go to Gravity Wells Ley Lines. That's where you'll find it in the more section. Maybe it's in the menu too, I'll have to remember. So anyways, click Gravity Wells. Then you'll bring up, here it is. You just scroll down a bit and there's Lelanders Leyline KMZ file for Google Earth Pro. And I decided to date this version as 2023-0806. as the latest file. But to be realistic, I think I actually created this file maybe a year or two ago. Can't remember. And it started in the year 2008. So that's what, or not 8, was it? No, 2018. So it's not that old. But it is, I guess, getting there. And I put special thanks to Sarah O'Sullivan. Hope she doesn't mind. But she was the one that asked for the file to get it out and it released. Not to put any pressure on her if it happens to be the technology that destroys the universe. But sorry, I shouldn't laugh. That's a grim. But anyways, yeah, here's the file. You never know. Like with every great technology comes great responsibility. And I'm sure someone else would have asked too, if it happens to be a disaster. But anyways, so yeah, here's some of the other stuff. And I just wanted to show people too this image. This is a good one to show. So if anyone's wondering, like the ancient sites and how they make straight lines, that's these purple ones. So that's the ancient site one, connecting like these spots here. That's this line. The ancient sites with Angkor Wat and the Great Pyramid and Easter Island, that's this one. This one is like ancient sites that not many people talk about on the east coast of the continent. But anyways, you can see that the ancient site line and then the blue line that I drew with the modern measurements, it's almost identical, eh? Like it's so close that it almost seems like you could take one and shift it and get it to fit into place. Some people are saying that's because the earth has changed in the past like 10,000 years, and that's where that little shift accounts for. Or that not just from natural disasters and stuff, but the actual tilt of the planet changes over time. I think, what did they say, that the celestial equator is actually moving? I don't know. Well, probably won't touch on that too much because that's a whole nother bag of worms. And today we're just going to focus. So now you've gone here, you've clicked download the file. It saves it as a zip file. So if anyone hasn't unzipped a zip file before, let me just show how to do that. You basically have to download a file called iZip, or what's the one I use? It's called 7-zip. Basically, just type onto Google or YouTube how to unzip files. So they'll be able to explain it better than I can. But once you've unzipped it and you saved it somewhere on your computer, sorry if I'm skipping too many steps, but I can't take forever here. You open Google Earth. Now you've got your regular files in it. We'll turn off the ruler or the grid. So now we've got the regular Google Earth. Now you'll want to go to File and then click Open. And then you'll have your file where all of your KMZ files. So the one that you just unzipped that has all the different files, you can import it in. And once you've imported it in, it'll be on this list on the side. And now you can just click the ley lines, whatever ones you want to turn on to see them. So there's the yellow layer, the blue layer, and the layer that I need help finishing the most is the red layer. And the red layer is same thing. You just have to divide each of the other lines in half. And it results in a crap load of lines. So to show some people what are some of the neat things that you can do once you have the ley line map on. One of my favorite ones is to turn on places like Asia. Turn the continent sideways so that China becomes the center of the earth. Which some ancient maps actually used to show China as the center. Maybe we'll turn on the blue. And what you can do is the already existing files on the bottom are the ones that come with the software. So you can turn on, say, places and borders and labels. You can take the borders off and on. So what we'll put on places, is it going to show? Thinking, where's the one that shows city names? Isn't that under places? There we go. So what you can do is you can look at places and see how close the ley lines land to major cities. You can see sometimes it lines up pretty nice. Beijing. Depends how far you want to zoom out, right? You can get a lot of the major cities to line up. There's Angkor Wat. Now I like it in Europe. Europe is one other one where all the cities line up pretty nice. See if I can find Europe. Not all the cities, obviously, but now some people are going to ask, like, how come so many of these major cities are lining up on the lines? It's not really that many. Maybe it's because I don't have the red layer on. Oh yeah, London is one, Dublin, Edinburgh, Stockholm, Oslo. Yeah, I guess it is a lot of the red ones. Moscow, Kiev. Ironic that they're on the same line. Istanbul, Ankara. Let's get into Asia. I could have swore China was right on the line. Oh, Beijing. There we go. Shenyang. Harbin. Now, the only thing I can explain it is it's not like some Freemasons that are trying to build every city on every ley line. I'm sure that happens in some cases, but it's definitely not going to be the entire globe is designed like that. Should hope. So what I think it is in a lot of cases, the ley lines, they actually just map where rivers and oceans and stuff are. And our society tends to build near the rivers. So if you have a ley line map showing all the rivers, obviously it's going to stop on a lot of cities too, because the cities will be built in the same river. So some of the other KMZ files, we'll cover those that you can import. So my favorite is the earthquakes. I think someone was telling me that we just had a major earthquake recently in, where was it, Morocco. So we'll check that one out. Oh yeah. I thought Morocco was on the other side in Africa. Isn't it here? Oh, there it is. Now, some of my family spent time in Morocco, so that's why I have an idea of where it is. Holy crap, 6.8. Alright, let's see what lines the earthquakes are lining up with, if any. And where to get these earthquake folders. I guess I should have made the list of them. I don't have it handy, sorry. But if you type it in, earthquake folders, you should be able to find some KMZ files. And if you find any that are better than mine, or the same ones, let us know in the chat below. Can help share the files with everyone. Okay, so that was that. Where's my ley lines? Spiral. Oh, here they are. Oh, yeah. So it's near where the blue lines interacted in Morocco. The one that I'm really watching out for, people have watched the show before, is when I look at Europe in this direction and check out where all the ley lines are. Oh, we're getting close to the Romania quake. If anyone hasn't been tracking, like, what's the next big one coming on the planet, I'm always looking towards the Romania one. Turkey's pretty big, but I'll show people why. If you get the historical earthquake folder, load that one in, and then you can turn on all the earthquakes and recorded history for which ones. Romania on this section, there, look how badly they get hammered, right? So 7, 7, 7s. So when I see these earthquakes creeping their way closer and closer to that fault line, I'm just thinking, boy, that one's going to go one day. Not that I'm a professional earthquake predictor, but Yeah, so I've been researching gravity well lines and where earthquakes occur quite a bit. Oh, and everyone else noticed, let's show them. The tectonic plates is its own separate folder, and that's one that's good for verifying that the ley lines are in the correct locations. We can see that the plate lines and the orb points usually match up pretty good. And this is the one I used in an example, that the general shape and spacing of the ley lines location does tend to map the actual cracks in the Earth's crust. Not every time, but yeah, there's definitely enough correlations. Could be confirmation bias, but then everyone's talking about that Stonehenge line, the St. Michael's Arch or Apollo's Axis, or the September 11th ley line of sacrifice. Where do we got that one? Let's see. September 11th. No, that's the... I don't see it in there. So it's not in ancient lines. Circles, no. I'll have to try to find it. Maybe I got it and I'll have to download it later. So we'll cover the line of sacrifice, I guess, on another one. I don't have it loaded into mine yet, and I'm not going to do it on the air because... Or will I? Let's see. Oh yeah, what's another popular ley line map before we get too far away? Hagen's map is another popular one, so if you want to get the KMZ file for that one, yeah, they also shared on their website. I think it was a team that made that ley line map. I'm not too sure. I think I've met at least one of the people involved in it online, or maybe two. So yeah, you just load their map the same way you did mine, and then click it. Now you have the Hagen's map. So they use a lot of great circles for this map too. One thing that I do like in common between the two maps is how Australia came out. They have a very similar pattern for Australia. You can tell mine's just slightly over, but very similar pattern to how Australia came out. The only weird thing I noticed with the Hagen's map, or weird or different from mine, is that they don't have it color coded in the sides, so you can't like just turn on all the yellow lines or all the blue lines. Not sure why that is, or maybe I'm just not navigating the files correctly. They have all these cool shapes and stuff in it. I don't really have mine labeled like that. So yeah, that's the Hagen's map. I highly recommend that one. It's one of my favorite ley line maps. Alright, so we've shown how to check out the different cities on the ley line maps. Let's bring the yellow line back. And one thing that I like to do every day with the ley line map is if you go down here in the bottom left, let's show it. Yeah, if you go down here in the bottom left, you have a thing called weather. That one comes with Google Earth. So you can turn on the cloud cover. So now you can see how the cloud cover and all the different clouds are affected by the gravity well points. You can see things like hurricanes, the paths they'll be coming in, tend to match the ley line paths. I like this Norway one because this Norway one tends to take all of our clouds and spin them around it, so that's kind of neat. The South Pole with all the cloud covers and the ley lines usually tends to look pretty wild. If you zoom out further, it tends to make the clouds thinner, so you can see the points of where it's spinning around it. To me, it almost seems like this is the foundation for like a new type of weather technology, where we'll be able to use ley lines and gravity wells to actually understand why different cloud formations or jet streams spin the way they do. Wow. It's pretty intense. And that's a neat thing because this is in real time. So when I booted it up, I had no idea what the cloud formations were going to look like, other than that I knew there was a couple storms brewing. Quite a few hurricanes happening. Oh yeah, and you'll notice too, if you ever start tracking the weather daily, once the hurricanes get really intense here, they'll start having hurricanes down here. They're like 10 times the size. And wind speeds or whatever, so I'm kind of shocked that as when we look at hurricanes on the planet on the news, we tend to just focus on these ones, I guess because that's where we are. But yet there's ones occurring in other locations that are way bigger. I could be wrong and I'm just judging the size of the South Pole's hurricane season wrong, but to me it seems like they have storm cells that are way bigger than the ones we encounter. Alright, so that's some of the things you can do is you can look at that. And another thing you can do is once you get our ley line map, we'll call it our ley line map because hopefully it'll be a community effort and some people can help finish drawing it more accurately or correct the lines that I got wrong. Make more of the lines straighter. Alright, so we'll turn off the weather. That was kind of a neat one. Before we get too wild with going on other planets, let's show one of the things that you can check out is load up a file called, where is it? Oh yeah, the ancient sites one. Or no, that's the one that I made. There is an ancient sites folder that'll like show you all the different sites like burials and stuff, and it's neat how many of them line up. I don't like to put that one on my computer because it's such a huge folder that it'll usually crash my computer. So I try not to. But if anyone's using like a supercomputer, bring up the ancient locations KMZ file and look how the ley lines match. It's quite neat. Alright, let's show one that we can actually show the viewers. The Tree of Life. So I drew the different trees of life onto the where they're located. Because if you have the blue lines, you can see that it helps finish the tree pattern. You can see the cube. So there's the different cubes that I was able to find around the globe. I like the one in the Holy Land the best, kinda, because that's where a lot of the cube, like Mecha Cube and stuff is. So it's kind of a neat way to look at the planet with the trees. So I think I included that file too. I think I had the circles. Schwabenland is actually my guess for Atlantis currently, just because it's where the ley line map tends to point where it is. And if anyone hasn't heard of this, this is like a seamount of a circular island chain that recently sank. And it was named this by the Nazi expedition that was out looking for Atlantis. They actually went all the way to the South Pole, didn't find it, but they ended up stopping here and naming this what they thought Atlantis was. The Edinburgh, the Seven Seas. That's weird, eh? I didn't know that was on the map. It's kind of neat that it doesn't want to show the name Schwabenland Seamount, but I'll type it in and see if it shows. SCH Schwabenland Seamount. There it is. Let's see how far off I was. There it is. So for some reason it didn't want to show it, but that's where it is. The Schwabenland Seamount. Now, some of my evidence for why this is that is it does happen to be the same ley line that Washington, D.C. is on. You know, that big obelisk they have. So that's one coincidence. And if you take this location and the shape of all the places around it, it actually matches, where is it? Old versions of where people thought, I forget the name of the place. Hyperborea? Was that it? Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Don't have it handy. Hyperborea. There it is. Nope, that's not it either. Let's see, Hyperborea. It's kind of a shame, like really. I thought I had it ready, but I guess I don't. Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait for showing the location of Atlantis or showing how it compares to Hyperborea. Maybe it's good because the image might be copyrighted. So if I show it, then could get the show in trouble. So not being able to find it will actually be good. It's funny, I have a folder called Summary. Oh, here it is. So if you take the map of Hyperborea, or Hypoborea, or whatever you want to call it, you can see that Africa in that part is that there. I don't know what they have it named there. They got the circular island chain, which basically happens to be this. The only thing that's different about these two maps is you can see that the continent of Antarctica and stuff had another continent connecting it between Africa and it. But there is sort of like an outline of maybe the planet was smaller at that point and the continents were actually closer together. Or it could be the shifting of the continents, the Pangea theory. But we can basically see that, yeah, going by where Hyperborea, it just happens to be where the Nazis said Atlantis was, or Schwabenland. I have their terminology for where Atlantis is. Yeah, even if you look on this part, like where is this little circle thing off to that, you can look at it here. So there we have it. The ley lines help discover where my favorite guess for Atlantis, the Schwabenland seamount. And it fits Plato's explanation. I know a lot of people like to say the Eye of Sahara is Atlantis, but I'm not too big of into that theory because mainly it's not beyond Gibraltar's Gate, and if you're going to go beyond it, that's where Plato, the only description, says it is. He doesn't say it's before Gibraltar. So that's the one thing that I think is a little bit weird with the Eye of Sahara, I guess. But who knows? To each their own. Maybe neither is it. No one knows, right? Ah, there it is. For some reason I thought it was in Spain. So some people think that's where it is. But no, I don't think that's Atlantis. Could be, but my best guess would be there. And for all the Titanic activity, you look at what is it, the Titanic plates, or tectonic. It basically, Atlantis would have been on one of the biggest fault lines, and then that's part of the legend too, isn't it? That it had like huge earthquakes or bad fault line associated with it. Holy crap, we're almost at an hour. Alright, so we'll speed this up. Once you got the yellow parts on the map, you can also bring up other planets, and they'll apply the same gravity well field and change it to map other planets for you automatically. You can just go up here and say change it to Mars. So are people like wondering, well, how's the ley line map going to look on other planets? We'll get a quick look. So this is more of the evidence that it is actual gravity wells. Oh god, I hate this Mars version. Yeah, so you can see, where is it? Here we go. This is the major volcanic section, and then this is the line of sacrifice that's from Earth, the one that connects Stonehenge and all the 9/11 attack sites and Tenochtitlan or Mexico City. So that's that, eh? Isn't it kind of interesting? Now I do have slides that show it a lot better because I don't have the folder set up right now. So we'll check that out. So there's the Mars line. There's the line of sacrifice that's associated with places on the Earth. And then you see how it lines up on Mars. It happens to be where the giant volcanoes are. So I think that's an interesting coincidence, no? Now in the past I did have the other planets set up with the entire solar system. So if you want to get this one folder, it's called like the Grand Solar System Tour. Then you can see how the ley lines affect all the different bodies in the solar system, or the gravity well lines, and it's really good. Like super good. Oh, here's the layers. There's one that can change it to like a topographical map of Mars. That one's really good. There we go. So now we can start to see that Mars and how it looks with the ley line maps. It's interesting here that this gap separating the two is basically the same like Amazon River gap, and you can watch the two continents, compare them. Do I have a comparison of the two? Oh, is it ever good? But now I'm going to do a... Oh, yeah. Are we already over the hour mark? 4 minutes. Okay, so we covered enough of Mars. Let's go back to one last thing that I wanted to show on planet Earth for now. Is some things that were mapped on the Earth. I couldn't find this folder before, but luckily I got it from my mom's place and brought it here. You can call it the Impact Crater Database from 2015. Hard file to find these days. Luckily I have a copy. So you click that, and it shows some of the biggest meteor impacts or suspected meteor impacts. And some of them kind of line up with the ley lines pretty neat. The one with Alaska is really suspicious because that's where a lot of big earthquakes happen. It makes you wonder at the electronic universe theory. We're going to have a guest about that one day. But then you look at one of the very biggest of all, and look what it is. It happens to be the orb point under Africa, or off the tip of Africa. And people say that they used to think it was an impact crater base, but now it's actually rejected. So they're not sure what's causing this, but there's a huge basin. So I think it's interesting that one of the biggest basins happens to currently line up with the ley line map perfectly. Like, that's dead center, right? I don't even think I could have drew it on there on purpose if I tried. So that's weird, eh? Like, that's one of the big files I guess I'll finish with. There are a whole bunch of other KMZ files. Like, I have a whole list of different ones. I think I might have included some of them in that zip file. Can't remember which ones I did. I didn't put any viruses in, if people are wondering. Not on purpose, if there is one. Not to freak people out. I think it passed the virus check. Yeah, the fires, if you put those on, oh god, is that an interesting one? How it lines up with the ley lines, all the fires that people have been having. I think it's something to do with lightning and interacting. Alright, so we're going to have to wrap it up, but thanks everyone for watching. Sorry for making this a full hour long. Hopefully everyone can like, share, and sub. Really appreciate it. If we can get my YouTube channel to 100k subs, then heck, I can start doing ley line research full time. So if you like and share and sub and it helps get to that point, really appreciate it. Thanks everyone. Bye for now. We'll go to the ley line intro exit. Later. Later.